Hey guys, I wanted to talk about my sewing desk today. It is still one of the most asked questions that I get on my YouTube channel and on Instagram whenever I post a picture of my sewing room. We made the desk. Can't buy it anywhere. I get asked that probably more than anything else. Where can I buy it? We made it, and it was actually from a friend's old dining table. So I'm sure you've seen, like on Facebook or Craigslist, those 90s oak tables that are white and kind of like an orange oak. That's actually what this was. The legs though had the shape that I wanted because I knew I wanted something substantial and classic, but not kind of kitschy looking. So this one was unique. It just had the right shape to it and the right weight to it mostly. So I stripped the entire table top, all the wood, and then sanded it down, restained it, and sealed it. Of course, that was after my father-in-law helped me build this. We marked out a hole in the top and then cut it. I will show you everything. I'll flip the camera around and just show you how it's put together so you know what I mean. But essentially we have the dining table. It has a leaf in it. I could actually add a leaf if I wanted to. My father-in-law did have to move one of the brackets over because of where it was. But then once we did that, or once he did that, we just traced my sewing machine where I wanted it. And I chose to put mine toward the right side, so that way I would have all of the left side to kind of support the quilt. And that has worked beautifully for me. I have loved having the additional space. The other thing is that this table is super heavy. It is solid wood, so it absorbs all of the vibrating, the weight. The last table I did this with was an IKEA Ingo, and it just shook. And we were on the second floor, so it shook the basement down below. This one, we're on the lower level, but it still doesn't move. It's just super solid, and I have loved that. So let me go ahead and turn this around, and I'm gonna show you and take the machine out and everything so you can see what it looks like. So here's the desk. You can see what I mean by the shape of the legs. They were just different, and I loved that. They weren't your traditional turn legs. They had this kind of square top part to them, which to me felt very English, very classic. I already had the chair, and I wanted to kind of repeat that same element here. I wanted it to look like furniture. I didn't want anything super crafty or bright at all. So this is a stain that I chose. It's Dark Walnut by Sherwin-Williams Minwax. It is just my go-to favorite. It's the same stain I used for my cutting table, and it has just held up beautifully. I did use a sealer, and I used the polyacrylic Minwax in satin. Gives it just a slight little sheen. So you can see all around here, it's just a dining table. That's it, just a dining table. Here is where the leaf would be inserted. This is what I was talking about with my father-in-law having to move the bracket. There was one here, and we needed to cut. So he moved it from here down a little bit, and then there were two others there as well. So the sewing machine just sits in a shelf that we built. The thing about my Janome, and I have the Janome S5, is that it sits at sort of an angle, and I didn't want my machine to be at an angle. I wanted it to be super flush. So the other kind of thing we had to figure out was, how do we put it inside the table but still have it such that it's going to be completely flush. I mean, my father-in-law is so good at what he does. It's just perfect. It's like such a good fit. The other thing that we have here, cut out a hole for the power cord. This is for the foot pedal, and then on this side right here is a notch for the power cord. It kind of just goes in there. So when I take it out, I go this way and then in. Down here is where we cut a hole for my knee lifter, and that was another functionality that I really wanted to keep. I wasn't sure it was actually going to work with this table because it is a lot thicker, and then, you know, we added the shelf support, but it was fine. It is just long enough to where it still reaches in there perfectly. So when I'm sewing, I have no problem. I am here under the table. Kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. This shelf was actually built from a scrap piece of wood that we had. It was from our prior home, because that's where we built this desk, in our prior home in Ohio. This was from the fireplace. I had taken it apart and rebuilt the mantle into something more that I liked. And so this, you can see there's like a cut there because it was just a scrap piece of wood, but it ended up being the perfect size. These are 2x4s that were ripped down. And then this is just how we create or eliminate, I should say, the angle of the sewing machine. This side sits up a little bit higher than, or a little lower than this side. So they're not the same. But here is how the sewing machine sits on there, perfectly flat, and the shelf just is supported completely by this 2x4 that was ripped down. You can see here is how we screwed it into the side here. Again, it's going to depend on your table, because this is a super sturdy table. We had plenty of options on how to secure it. So we did secure this into the side, and then the shelf sits on top of that. On this side, instead of doing another 2x4, again, we used scrap wood. This was the perfect height to eliminate that lean, and then it's just screwed into the bottom of the table here, so that way it's all super stable. This is where it would open up if I wanted to add a leaf there and there, and it still is very functional. I saved the leaf. Like I said, I can add it at any time that I want to. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I take out the machine. So I'm going to shove that to the side, and then I am just going to pull out the knee lifter, put that to the side, and then it's up and this way. So you can see here, this is where we have the foot pedal connection and then the power cord connection in there. And that's what these notches are for. And this just took precision. I mean, my father-in-law traced what he thought they would be. You know, he measured out how far this sticks out, and then he used a jigsaw to just kind of etch its way out. I did sand the entire thing inside so it is not splintery at all, and then I even stained the inside and sealed it as well. So as far as the shape, like you can see, this has some curves. We literally just put it on top of the desktop like this, and then I traced it with a pencil all around, and then that way he could cut it out with the jigsaw. You know, he started out a little bit smaller and then etched his way all the way around with the jigsaw. All right, with the entire sewing machine out of the way, you can see the side here. This is the table bracket. There's that extra piece of wood I was telling you. And then every now and then I do have to take this out and clean it. You know, it gets dirt, it gets lots of little threads, kind of dust. And then on this side you can see right here is where the cords come out through there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can stick this. And here you can see the other side. Kind of tough to get that angle. But when I don't have it in there, you see there's the hole. It just goes all the way through the table here. And let me see if I can go this way. You can see on the other side, it's not a complete shelf, like it doesn't cover up through the sides, so it has plenty of ventilation. And then right here, just in that corner, that's the 2x4 where it was screwed in. And it's really easy to put back in as well. I just tilt it and then angle it, and it stays in there just fine. So again, looking through the top, you can see just how close a fit this is. Enough room for the power cord in there to be notched out. And then this extra little round part as well. So it's a pretty good fit. Again, it just takes patience. I will say my last attempt with the Ingo was not anywhere near as close a fit because I don't have that kind of patience, but my father-in-law does, and he would take off like 1/8 of an inch at a time, sometimes 1/16 of an inch, until he got it just right. And I am so thankful that he helped this come, because it just works so well for us. The table just works really well. I still wanted to have enough room on this side because I knew I liked to store my notions, and so I have this box, which I actually need to get another one because I've currently put my hand quilting items in there, but normally this doesn't have any of this pearl cotton thread, and I just keep my scissors, my little my goodness, I can't think of the name, seam ripper, my goodness, my electric seam ripper, and my camera, all of my feet. Super easy. But like I said, I need to find another one because I was also using this to carry my hand quilting items around the house. So I have this, that's why I have it on the right, and then I can also put my coffee here without fearing that I will knock it over. And then I wanted something fairly deep because then, again, as I'm quilting, it can support the weight of the quilt. And from here, it can really support quite a bit of the quilt. One of the things I love about this table is that it had the leaf. It comes with another, I want to say it's like a 15 or 17 inch leaf. So this can be 72 inches long if I wanted to undertake that. I have not yet, I haven't needed it. And even with larger quilts, I kind of just fold it over and it works just fine. The white that I use is just the basic white Sherwin-Williams, extra white, I think it was. And that's about it here. I do use my pressing mat on here. I have since gotten something else, which I plan doing another video on, but I have used my pressing mat, and I know a lot of people have been concerned that it could ruin the wood. It has never sweat through for me. It has never left wet spots. I also wonder, because I have sealed this with a polyacrylic, which is just hard as rock, if that is what is helping protect the wood finish, because it looks just as good on day one. And I've had, you know, a pressing mat up until a couple months ago, really, for over 2 years on this desk. So this desk and then my prior wood desk as well. So total 2 years in my wood desks. But so far so good. It has been the best thing, super functional. Oh, the main reason I built this table or designed it is because my shoulders, when I sew on a sewing machine normally, I tense my shoulders up, and that I found I could not sew for very long. So with this dropped into the table, it's the perfect height for me. I can just relax my shoulders and sew as long as I want, and I never get stiff. So that was my main motivation for having it dropped in like this. That's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend.